Hello, everyone. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Virgo, but you guys, what I'm picking up on is interesting. Someone who ghosted you, someone who went silent without explanation, the energy around them seems like it's changing. And part of that change might be because whatever was blocking them before isn't blocking them anymore. When I say no third party anymore, I'm speaking to those of you who know or suspected there was someone else in the picture. For those of you where that doesn't apply, just take what fits your situation. But for many watching, that's probably been part of why this person disappeared. They were dealing with someone else, someone who was taking up their time or attention or emotional energy, and now that situation seems like it might be done over out of the picture. Let's explore what's coming through, who this person is, what changed, why they might be coming back now. Trust your intuition as we go. You probably already know who this energy is about. So let me start with who this person might be, because ghosted is specific. This isn't someone who slowly faded out or who gave you a breakup conversation. This seems like someone who just disappeared, stopped responding to messages, stopped showing up, maybe even blocked you or cut off all contact without explanation. And that sudden silence left you confused, maybe hurt, definitely wondering what happened. And chances are this is someone you had some kind of connection with. You were dating or talking regularly. Maybe you thought something was developing between you. And then they just vanished. And you've probably spent time trying to figure out why. What did you do wrong? What happened? Was it something you said? Did they lose interest? Did something else come up? For a lot of you, the answer might have been that there was someone else, a third party, someone they were involved with when they were talking to you. Maybe an ex they went back to. Maybe someone they were seeing at the same time. Maybe a situationship that wasn't over even though they were exploring something with you. And when things shifted with that person, you became the one they ghosted. Now, let me talk about what no third party anymore might mean, because this is the shift that's creating the possibility of them coming back. Seems like whatever was happening with that other person might be done. Could be they broke up. Could be that person moved on or chose someone else. Could be the relationship finally showed its true colors and they realized it wasn't what they thought it was. Whatever the situation was, it's probably reached an ending point. And with that ending comes available energy and attention that wasn't available before. And now they're thinking about you again. Or maybe they never stopped thinking about you, but now they're actually in a position to do something about those thoughts. When they were with the other person, reaching out to you probably felt complicated. Maybe they felt guilty. Maybe they didn't want to juggle two people. Maybe the other situation was demanding enough that they didn't have bandwidth for you. But now that complication is gone. And they're probably sitting with the reality that they ghosted you, that they handled things badly, that they disappeared without explanation. And they're maybe wondering if there's any chance you'd be willing to hear from them again, if too much time has passed, if you've moved on, if you'd even respond if they reached out. You guys, have you been thinking about this person lately? Randomly? Without really knowing why? That could be you picking up on their energy, moving back toward you. Sometimes we sense people before they actually make contact. We think about them out of nowhere, They show up in dreams. We see things that remind us of them. And then days or weeks later, they reach out. And we realize our intuition was picking up on their intention before it manifested. So if this person's been on your mind and you couldn't figure out why, this might be why. They could be building up to reaching out, working through whether they should, trying to figure out what to say after all this time and after the way things ended. Let me talk about what their return might look like, because people who ghost rarely come back with full accountability. They might reach out casually, like nothing happened. Hey, how have you been? Acting like the ghosting wasn't a big deal, or like enough time has passed that you shouldn't still be bothered by it. Testing the waters to see if you'll respond, seeing if the door is still open before they invest in any real explanation or apology. Or they might come back with excuses about why they disappeared, making it sound like circumstances beyond their control forced them to go silent. Maybe blaming the third party situation without taking responsibility for how they handled it. Things were complicated. I was going through stuff. It wasn't a good time. Explanations that might technically be true, but that avoid admitting they chose to ghost instead of communicating like an adult. Some might actually apologize, acknowledge they messed up, own the ghosting. I'm sorry I disappeared like that. It wasn't fair to you. Those are the ones who've maybe done some reflection, who recognize their behavior wasn't okay, who are coming back with at least some level of accountability for how they handled things. And a few might be honest about the third party, might actually admit there was someone else, that they went back to an ex or chose someone else, that they weren't as available as they made it seem when they were talking to you. Honesty like that is rare from people who ghost, but it does happen, especially if they're hoping for a real second chance and they know half truths won't build the foundation they need. Now, here's the important question: why are they coming back now? Is it because they genuinely regret losing you? Because during that time away, they realized you were actually important to them? Because they see now that what they had with the other person wasn't as good as what they could have had with you? That would be the best case scenario. That their return is based on genuine recognition of your value. Or is it because they're lonely now that the third party is gone? Because they don't want to be alone, so they're reaching back to someone they know was interested? Because you're familiar and safe and they remember you being kind to them? That would be less good. That would mean you're not the choice, you're just the available option now that their first choice didn't work out. Or is it because they want to keep you as an option while they figure out what's next? They're not with the third party anymore, but maybe they're not really done with that situation either. Maybe they're testing multiple waters. Maybe they're hedging bets. Maybe they want to reestablish connection with you while they continue to explore other possibilities. That would be the worst case scenario. That you're being lined up as a backup plan. Drop a comment if you already know who this is about. If someone specific came to mind who ghosted you and who you've maybe sensed might resurface. Because I think a lot of you watching know exactly who this energy is pointing to. And part of you might be hoping they come back, while another part is angry about how they left and doesn't want to give them the satisfaction of a response. Both feelings are valid. You can simultaneously want to hear from someone and also be really clear that how they treated you wasn't okay. Um, you can be curious about what they'd say while also being protective of yourself. Those contradictions are normal when dealing with someone who hurt you, but who you still have feelings about. Let me talk about how you might navigate if they do reach out, because this requires thought, not just reaction. First, don't respond immediately, even if you've been waiting to hear from them, even if you're excited they reached out. Take time, sit with the message, notice how it makes you feel, what they said or didn't say, whether they took accountability or made excuses. Let your initial emotional reaction settle before you decide how or if to respond. Second, be honest about what you need to hear. If they reach out, what would they need to say for you to even consider giving them another chance? Do you need an apology? Do you need explanation? Do you need them to acknowledge the third party situation if that's what happened? Get clear about your minimum requirements before engaging so you can tell if they're meeting them. Third, watch for patterns repeating. If they ghosted you once, they could ghost you again, especially if they never really dealt with why they ghost people when things get complicated. So, if you do engage, pay attention to their consistency. Are they showing up differently this time? Or are you seeing the same patterns that led to them disappearing before? Fourth, don't let them rush you. If they're coming back, they need to earn their way back in. They don't get to show up after ghosting and immediately have access to you the way they did before. Trust is rebuilt slowly through consistent behavior over time, not through one good conversation or one heartfelt apology. Fifth, consider whether you even want this. Just because they're coming back doesn't mean you have to receive them. You might have moved on. You might have healed from how they hurt you and you don't want to reopen that. You might be clear that someone who could ghost you once isn't someone you want to risk your heart on again. All of those are legitimate reasons to keep the door closed. Let me ask you something. What would it take for you to trust this person again if they came back? Would an apology be enough? Or would you need to see changed behavior sustained over months? Would you need complete honesty about what happened with the third party? Would you need them to be patient with your guardedness while you rebuild trust? Would you need couples counseling or some structured way of addressing what went wrong? Getting clear about what you'd actually need helps you evaluate whether this person is capable of providing it. Because if what you need is transparency and they're still being evasive, that's your answer. If what you need is patience and they're pushing for things to go back to normal immediately, that's your answer. Their willingness to meet your needs after hurting you tells you whether reconciliation is actually possible. Here's what I want you to understand about people coming back after ghosting. The fact that they're coming back doesn't mean anything fundamental has changed. Maybe their circumstances changed. The third party is gone. They're lonely. They're nostalgic. But that doesn't mean they've grown or learned or become different people who won't repeat the same patterns. Changed circumstances don't equal changed character, and character is what matters when deciding whether to give someone another chance. So while it might feel good to be thought of again, to be reached out to have them coming back, stay clear headed about what's actually happening. They hurt you by ghosting. That hurt doesn't disappear just because they decided to resurface. And them wanting back in doesn't create your obligation to let them back in. You get to decide based on whether you believe they're capable of showing up differently this time, based on whether the risk of being hurt again is worth the possibility of things working out, based on whether you even still want what they're offering or whether you've moved past wanting anything from them. You know what else I'm sensing? Some of you might not want them back, but you might want closure. You might want the explanation you never got, want to understand why they disappeared, want to hear them admit it wasn't about you, want the apology you deserved. And that's valid. Wanting closure doesn't mean you want the relationship back. You can engage enough to get answers without engaging enough to rebuild something. Just be careful that seeking closure doesn't become a door they walk back through. Some people are good at using your need for explanation as an opportunity to worm their way back in. They give you some answers, show some vulnerability, and suddenly you're talking regularly again and things are undefined again, and you're back in a situation you thought you were done with. So if closure is what you want, get clear about that boundary. I'm willing to hear your explanation, but I'm not interested in reconnecting beyond that. Be direct so they can't misread your willingness to talk as willingness to try. Again, take what resonates from this reading, everyone. Someone who ghosted you seems like they might be working up to coming back. The third party situation that maybe complicated things before might be done. They might be in a position now to reach out where they weren't before. And you're probably going to have to make some choices about how you respond if that contact comes. Trust your inner knowing. Trust that you can want to hear from someone and still maintain boundaries with them. Trust that being ghosted wasn't your fault, even if they try to make it seem like it was complicated. Trust that you deserve better than someone who disappears without explanation. And trust that if you do give them another chance, you're allowed to proceed with caution and require them to prove they're different. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this reading. I appreciate all of you. Blessings to everyone watching. Take care of yourselves. Protect your peace even when people from your past try to return to it. You're exactly where you need to be. Possibly about to hear from someone who disappeared, having to decide what their return means and what you want to do about it. Empowered to choose based on your truth, not their convenience. Have a beautiful day, Virgo. Bye.